Jeff Bezos is credited with saying, your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I really like that because whether we create one or not, we all have one. So our behavior, the way we look, the words we use, the actions we take are all our brand.
What if there are things we never had the opportunity to learn? We've all been to school or training, but there are things they never taught us that actually make a powerful difference in life. I'm here to share with you all the pieces you've been missing: mindset, health, success, and more. And we'll all learn together from guests along the way. We may not have learned it the traditional way, but oh my goodness, let's keep learning how to do things differently. OMG Teach Me crew, here we are again, and I am really excited because today I am talking with Cyndy Porter, who is an image consultant and photographer, and I'll tell you a little bit more about her in a second. We're going to be talking about style in terms of creating your personal style, your personal brand, and how that works together with success. You might have heard episode 12 from last year when I talked with Amanda about style and your body shape. And let me tell you what, that was a popular episode. So we're going to go deeper today. Have you ever wondered, could you create a style that really reflects who you are and people just kind of recognize you that way? Does it matter? I know sometimes it's kind of tempting to just work in our PJs some days, or when we're going out, we just throw on the yoga pants. We don't worry about anything else. Does that reflect what we want to say? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. So we're going to find out. And Cyndy Porter, as I said, is here with me today. She works with professionals, helping them look and feel confident and attract success, which is wonderful. She spent 20 years as a sales and marketing professional in high-tech companies, even to VP of marketing at AOL. Then she became a professional photographer, and she is award-winning, and now she is a certified image consultant and story coach. And you're going to hear a little bit about what that means. It's an intriguing title. Her clients have gone on to start businesses, multiply their incomes, change careers, be promoted, and to forge healthy relationships. So I am really excited to talk with you today, Cyndy. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, listeners, Cyndy and I have met before. We both live in the same area near Washington, D.C., and it's been years, actually. I don't even know when it was that we met, but I'm glad we could do this now.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, well, let's get started. Since this podcast is OMG Teach Me, and we're talking about things that we never learned in school that are really powerful in life, let me just ask you, what's one thing you wish you had learned in school?
Yeah, I've heard you ask that question, and I think it's really interesting. It's a great question. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but I wish I could go back and do it all over again, knowing what I know now, for sure. But I really and it probably led me to what I'm doing now. I struggled with self-confidence, as I think many young people do, feeling comfortable in their own skin. And I wish that schools, and I wish that I was taught, that I was in an environment where people talked about the importance in believing in yourself. Because as I've gone through my life journey, being certainly a woman of a certain age, I really wish that I had had more confidence when I was younger. And I wonder where that path would have taken me. So I think if there's one thing that I just wish, was baked into our education system, maybe it's not mental health, maybe it's an emotional health, but really the whole person being considered, and knowing that you just can't be your best, you can't achieve your potential if you have self-doubt. And I know you're a coach and you probably work with people on that, and probably women who are, further along in age, right? But
Yep.
and still, I know I still struggle with it, hopefully
Yep.
not as much as I did when I was in high school, but I really think it's an important issue, and it's probably what led me to doing the work that I do.
So that's very interesting. And actually, this is one of the reasons I asked this question too, is that oftentimes people say exactly what you just said. Well, that's probably what led me to what I'm doing now, because it's our stories that kind of get us there. I feel like that
Exactly.
happens a lot. Yeah, yeah. And I agree with you already, but I fully, 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 fully agree. Sometimes we learn all the facts, but we don't really learn how amazing we are and how to believe in ourselves and kind of put that out there in the world confidently. So, absolutely. All right. Well, then let's do that now, shall we?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you focus on what you refer to as personal brand when it comes to style. And I found that term fascinating because when I think of personal brand, I kind of think of like colors on social media. So tell us what you mean by personal brand related to style.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos is credited with saying your your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And
Mm,
I really like that because whether we create one or not, we all have one. So our behavior, the way we look, the words we use, the actions we take are all our brand. It's what makes us unique. And so when I work with my clients, what I hope to do is get them to be intentional about what brand they want to have. So it's the same exact way a business has a brand, right? You think about
hmm
your favorite business and you think about what are their values, what is their customer service policy? Do you resonate with their sustainability practices, how they treat their employees? Even are they expensive? Like think about a Dunkin' Donuts versus a Starbucks, right? You're going to have a preference for one and you might be willing to pay, as many people are, more money for a Starbucks, a cup of
True.
coffee, because
hmm
you like the way you get greeted when you go in there. You like the space. You like what the company stands for. And so I often ask people to think about their favorite brands and then tell me what it is about that brand they love. And often they use adjectives that have to do with things that they identify with.
Mm.
So what we want to do is the same for us. And I think it's advantageous to kind of come back to this maybe even annually and say, like, who am I? What are my values? How do I want to be remembered? What's really important to me? I often have my clients write a personal mission statement the same way a company writes their mission statement. That's
Hmm.
basically a statement about why you're living the life that you're living. And
Okay.
then you can use that statement the same way companies use. So companies have a mission statement. All the companies that we, believe in, you can go to their website and see their mission statement, and they use that as a tool to how they're going to live, how they're going to manage their business. Who are they going to hire? What products are
hmm
they going to take on? What is their
Yep.
pricing policy? All of those things. And so for us, if we write a mission statement and then we think about, what am I doing for a living? How do I show up in the world? How do I treat other people? What books do I read? What movies do I watch? Who are my friends? I think that we stop being intentional when we kind of grow up because we're so busy just living our life that we stop thinking about what is the life I want to live, which might sound a lot like a life coach, but I only do this to the point where somebody can articulate what it is they're all about. And
hmm
then I teach them how to dress in a way that instantly communicates that.
It's really fascinating because when you said, I think we stop doing this when we grow up, I thought, wow, maybe kind of when we're teenagers, we're trying to create this brand out of ourselves and then we think we're done. I don't know. Or there's all kinds of angst and baggage from that we might want to leave behind. I guess it could go
For
either way.
sure.
Yeah. I definitely did not think about my style in this way before talking to you, and I think it is powerful. And so you're talking about adjectives. So give us an example of what that would look like when someone's trying to figure out their personal brand.
So we do the personal mission statement, and I also ask them. Sometimes it's even easier to I hand them a sheet of adjectives, many adjectives, but there are so many, so it's unlimited. But there's common ones, right? There might be people who want to be sophisticated and they want people to take them seriously because they're moving up in the corporate world and that's who they are. There could be people who are out of the box thinkers and so want to show some level of creativity in their brand and how they show up.
Mm-hmm.
There might be women who want to be seen as feminine and nurturing, or others who want to be seen as bold and sassy or edgy. It could be that you're a young woman and you want to be taken more seriously, or you're an older woman and you want to be seen still as current and relevant. So, what we do is go through this process, and if you can boil it down to five, six max and say, what are the words that when people see you, they say, isn't Cheryl creative, interesting, inspirational, kind? Like what is it for you, right? And once
Right.
you identify what those words are, then the hard part for a lot of people, unless you have an art background, is to say, what items do I have on and what do they communicate?
Mm.
Right? So you're wearing earrings and glasses and a pretty green shirt. And so those all things have styles that you could put names to. The same way an interior designer might put names to the types of furnishings that go into your house as modern or colonial or traditional. So, first, it is the job to determine your adjectives and then to be able to understand what each item communicates. And so, if you say, I want to be seen as lovely, kind, generous, and feminine, and you have leather with spikes and, right, you're wearing
Right.
leopard skin shoes or whatever, like it's a mismatch.
Yes.
And one of the things we do know is that it is actually psychologically jarring to people when the words we use or the person we are is inconsistent with what they're experiencing. So if you see
Mm.
somebody who's really edgy and sassy and has tattoos and piercing and leather and metal and whatever, and then they're just really sweet and lovely and even have this demure tone of voice, it makes them actually untrustworthy because you don't understand who is this person I'm taking in, the way they're behaving, the words they're choosing, their tone of voice, and the way they physically look are a mismatch.
I absolutely understand what you're saying because I have a visual in my mind of, I mean, I'm an 80s kid. So, a mohawk and
Right.
leather jacket, whatever. And if that person then spoke to me in just a quiet, almost shy way, I would be confused. And I don't know if I would think about it and think to myself, I am confused. But yes, there would be just I don't know, just like a cognitive dissonance or something.
Exactly. And it's a lot of times unconscious.
Hmm.
They say for a long time it used to be that it would take, first it was 30 seconds to make a first impression. Then it was 7 seconds to make a first impression. And now the most recent data is saying that it's actually milliseconds, that we take
Mm.
somebody in, they call it thin slicing. We make a judgment based on everything we take in. And what's really, really frightening about that is that we are so stubborn in wanting to believe that we're right as human beings that on average, it takes 6 months or 8 encounters with that person for us to believe we made a mistake. So if I see you and I think you're different than how you really are, you have to I have to be in your orbit that long in order for me to say, okay, I was wrong. She really is lovely.
Yes.
The good news is if you make a good first impression, it's going to take me a really long time to realize you're not nice. But
Yes.
I mean, that's not true, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because in one of my first jobs of my career, very early in this job, I had to come in early to the office a couple days in a row to do a project. And I hate going early to the office in any capacity. And so that's not me. But the VP had walked by me a couple mornings in a row being there early. And a few weeks later, he referred to me and said, "Oh, yeah, Cheryl's always here early." And I was just laughing, like, okay, I guess I'll take that first impression. It's completely inaccurate, but
But you're going to be
that
the
was a
early
good
one.
one.
That's great.
Yes, and it hung
That's
in
great.
there, even though I don't think I ever went early again. But yes, I see what you mean. So let's say that someone wants to come across as like a corporate professional and still approachable, but savvy. What kinds of style choices might they make if they want to be seen that way?
So, one point I'd just like to make is that I personally believe that our brand transcends our whole life. So, I usually discourage people from using the word professional because you don't want to look professional in your personal life, but you might want to be elegant or polished or put together or sophisticated, and that might transcend to your personal life. I also
Mm.
think that we dress for occasions, but
Mm-hmm.
we still take our brand with us. So, because this comes up a lot, like, well, when I'm with my kids or when I'm, out on a date, or I'm a totally different person than I am in the workplace. And maybe, but that seems to me like that would be really hard if you are a different human at work than you are at home. Like, if we can just all be authentic and show up with as whoever we are, whatever we do, life is easier. So I encourage people to find words that transcend both work and home.
A friend of mine asked me the other day, how many times have you reinvented yourself over your career? How many different things have you done? And instead of that being a negative thing, like I think many years ago maybe it was when most people stayed in the same career for a long time, I look at this as such a positive thing. The ability to reinvent myself. And along the way, I learned so much about mindset and the power of intuition and how to really go for what we're meant to do in life. So come along with me as I share this exact same thing with you. I'm beta testing my Leading Lady community this fall for free. So go to the show notes, grab the link bit.ly/leadingladyenergy and come on over and join us.
But back to your point, if somebody wanted a sophisticated, put together,
Mm-hmm.
polished persona, I think that they need to think about the quality of their clothing.
Mm.
This is where there is evidence that designer brands resonate with people as a status symbol.
Mm.
So I am not a big brand person. I don't like items that have branding all over them, but I do think you can see quality and things that are interesting. And so what you don't want to do is go to a store like Ann Taylor, for example, and have the same kind of basic suit that everybody else would have. It needs to be a little bit more elevated. You can do that through accessorizing. And
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have to have a lot of accessories, but maybe you want to invest in a few pieces of jewelry that are of higher quality, that kind of, or at least look of higher
Right.
quality. You want to probably be mindful of the lines of the clothing. Like, you're not going to, show a lot of skin necessarily. You're probably going to have a jacket on. You're probably going to have heels. Your pants are probably going to come to your ankle or further and not be a cropped pant. It's just a little bit more put together. And also, your color palette might be a little bit more subtle. You're not wearing a lot of bright patterns or trendy things, right? So I would say that's how I would paint a picture of something that's a little bit more sophisticated. And the polish and put together comes to do with like accessorizing. So I really think, thinking about what is your level of accessorizing. Do you get your nails done? Do you have earrings? Do you wear jewelry? Are your shoes in good shape? I mean, obviously, no wrinkles, and your clothes all fit perfectly, and you have to be willing to get rid of the clothes that don't look, like they're in good shape anymore, and all of those things.
Yes, that's a great point. I think I have a habit of holding on to things a little too long and they kind of are baggy here and tight there and don't really fit right anymore. And yeah, that's probably not saying the adjective that anyone wants, I suppose.
And it can happen too because our body can change, and so things that fit us once might be tighter or looser than they were. And so I'm a big fan of the capsule wardrobe, where you have fewer items and you mix and match them lots of different ways, and you
Hmm.
invest in quality, and you get clothes altered. And that you also then, if clothes don't fit you right, have a quality piece that you could put back out on the consignment market. So, and when I say, oh, you should be in designer clothes if you want to be sophisticated, you can buy on sale, you can buy at quality outlets, you can buy in consignment shops. Like, you don't have to spend lots and lots of money on your wardrobe in order to come across in any of the different personal brands that you might choose.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have some examples or an example of clients you've worked with where realizing their personal brand has really changed some things for them?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing if you think about it, that all I'm really doing is helping people articulate what's important to them, and also learn style rules. Like you said, you did something on how to dress your body shape. Like, we do that too. You want to look good in the clothes that you have and dress for your shape and your proportions and wear colors that complement your skin tones and all of those things. But it's really fascinating that just learning this skill, like communicating who
Hmm.
you are and dressing. I see dressing with art principles. So I use 7 elements of art, and that's step 2. So step 1 is your brand. Step 2 is dressing using art principles. It's life transformative. It's
Huh.
like crazy. It's like you're just changing the clothes you put on your body. But yeah, I've had both men and women completely change their lives, both personally and professionally. I have one client who's a blind man who was divorced and didn't realize, he knew he needed help, but when I went to his closet, he didn't realize that he couldn't see what colors went together. He couldn't see if there was a stain on a
Mm,
clothing, right? I mean, it was fascinating, and obviously he knew he couldn't see, so he was reluctant to put himself out into social circles.
right.
And we reinvented his entire wardrobe. I took him through the same process I take everybody through. And he, like, 400 times increased his Match.com.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was like, who's this guy? And then pretty amazing. And, I've had people get promotions. I've had people, realize that they weren't being treated the way they want to be treated in marriage, and get divorced and move on and find their soulmate. Anything that you can think of. Older women who felt like they were frumpy, learned to dress in a way that made them stand out. I've had women actually decide that they want to do this for a living because it's so
Mm,
transformative. They wanted to teach other people to do the same. So
wow. Wow.
it's funny because people think of fashion as being superficial, and it certainly can be, right? But at this level, when we're doing the work for people who are trying to overcome a self-confidence issue, or try to actually achieve something in life that they feel they're stuck. Or, a common one is when people change careers. I used to be an attorney and now I'm an artist. I don't know how to show up looking like an artist. People still see me in these, stuffy, dark suits. I need to reinvent, and believe and show creativity in what I do. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And I think when we were talking before, we started talking a little bit about how do you go from feeling bad about yourself and then trying to step into this new bravery. So, do you have tips for people on now how do I act like that person? How do they do that?
Think about this. Think about a time you got a new haircut, or if you've ever gone to a makeup artist, or you bought a new outfit and you felt like $1,000,000. And when you looked in the mirror that morning before you left your house, the energy that you carried with you, the confidence that you had might be that. I mean, I tell people that might be the day you ask for a raise, that you put up better personal boundaries for yourself and treat yourself with respect because you believe in yourself just a little bit more. So, I mean, I think it's like anything else, like it's a pathway. And I'm not saying that if you have serious self-esteem issues or you don't believe in yourself, that all you have to do is get a new outfit and voila, you're a new person.
Right, right.
But I do think it's the easiest thing you can do to, in the moment, change how you feel about yourself. And then you get in the elevator and somebody says, wow, you look great today. And you go into the office and people say, I love your outfit. Like, all of these little boosts impact how we feel about ourselves. And when we feel better about ourselves, we project that into the world and people react to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. I fully agree. And I kind of hear you saying just, we're figuring out a way that we can look in the mirror and feel really good about what we see, no matter what the issues and imperfections we might find.
Absolutely. Everybody, no matter who they are, no matter what size they are, what gender they are, whatever, can dress in a way that makes them feel like $1,000,000. And it's a skill set. If you go back to the things we could have learned in school, it's hard. I have a friend that asked me about this for her high school kid. And I would love to influence that age group more. The problem is they all want to look like each other, and they're all so self-conscious in their own skin. It's hard. I have more luck with recent college graduates who are then moving into the workplace than I do with high school students. But I wish somehow we were all taught to be comfortable in our own skin, that we don't all have to, the skinny girl doesn't have to dress like the curvy girl, and the athlete doesn't have to dress like the artist, or like all of those things we were just never taught. It's something we do every single day of our lives. We go to our closet, we get dressed, we go to the store, we buy clothes, and for the most part, if our parents didn't teach it to us, or our best friend down the street, we just kind of figured it out as we went, and it wasn't based on any knowledge. It was just based on intuition.
True.
And now it's a habit. You probably buy that same kind of thing every time you go to the store. So one of the things I do with my clients is we work on new habits and seeing yourself differently. It's a big change for a lot of people.
It's a big change, and what a cool thing to imagine having a day where you start feeling good just looking at yourself in the mirror that day, and then, as you said, people say a nice compliment to you, and I feel like it kind of is like pouring in all the good stuff right into yourself, however you would say that.
Yeah. I mean, we all talk about like self-affirmations and visualizations and all the things we can do to set ourselves up for success, but we are all other based as well, as much as we don't want to be. And so if the world is our mirror, that's one thing I learned from my blind client, is he started to use the world as his mirror, and he would go out and people would say, John, you look amazing, John this, John that. And so since he couldn't see himself in the mirror, the world became his mirror. And I think we can all do the same. Yes, we need to trust ourselves. We need to look in the mirror and believe in ourselves, but also we do react positively when other people notice us and give us accolades. At least I do.
I think most of us do. Yes, I think you're right about that. Yeah. And maybe it's a bigger focus for some versus others, but it's
of course
definitely a piece. Yeah, it's definitely a piece. So in just a minute or two, I don't know if this is possible, but can you tell us a little bit about the art concepts that you use? I don't know if there's a way to kind of describe that a little bit.
Sure. So there are 7 elements of art, and there are design elements that are standard. So whether you're an architect or a graphic artist or an interior designer or a painter, they're the same ones. And as you know, I'm also a photographer. And so what I discovered for me in the business I created is I have a background in marketing, and it's marketing yourself as a personal brand compared to marketing a company or a product is exactly the same thing. And the same art elements that we use to make a beautiful photograph or painting can be applied to us. So I started to think about how we are all a 3-dimensional canvas. We already have texture and color and pattern and scale and shape and all of those things in our bodies. And so you can use those same exact principles that are used in art and learn, what is my color palette? If I were a painting that some amazing artist was going to make and took swabs from my hair and my lips and my eyes and my face, what would blend nicely together? That's your color palette. If you think about your shape, as you did in a previous episode, are you an hourglass or a rectangle or an inverted triangle or a triangle? And how do we make what's not symmetrical is all of that is about, right?
Yes.
Put emphasis where it's not so that you can balance out where you might have more. If you look at your body proportions, it was Leonardo da Vinci that discovered we are proportionate if we are 7 head lengths. So I don't know if you've ever seen, like when people draw, they might draw these 7 ovals in a row, and then that's where they know where the waist is and where the arms should come out and where the head is and how long the legs are. So we know that we're 1 head length, that we're like 3 to our waist, 1 more to our groin, 4 more to the floor. So that's proportion. So then we measure and see, are we proportionate or not? And then how do we play with geometry and the length of our jackets or our pants or our sleeves to balance things more appropriately so that we just look more cohesive. So it's simple when you think of it in terms of art.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think I have seen kind of line drawings of people where they show the original where they started, and I've seen circles. I get what you're saying. Wow. Okay. And we're all different, right? So that's another way that we can kind of remind ourselves that we don't have to look like each other and it's all okay.
Exactly. And it's proportionate to you. So it's not about, are you petite or are you tall? It's about how many head lengths are you and where are your body parts in relationship to your head. And then, whether a short jacket or a long jacket is going to make you look more proportionate. And when you learn it and you can look in the mirror and see it, it's kind of like an oh my God, or oh my goodness, I think you say.
I do say, oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. And I mean, of all the things that you've been saying, I'm holding on to this idea of we want to be able to find a way to be really happy with looking in the mirror and feeling like that's who I want to be, or that's how I want to present myself. And I love that because, I mean, we're going to walk out the door, whether it's literally or figuratively onto the Zoom, and feel a lot better, I would think.
Yeah. And what's hard about Zoom is a lot of times you see yourself, like you're in a meeting and you see yourself looking back at yourself. A lot of people have told me that that's kind of eye-opening to them and distracting. So
yes, it can be.
I think that superficial isn't the right word, but it's taking something that's surface and seeing how that impacts us at a deeper level is what I find interesting about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think even if listeners are sort of feeling like they're just scratching the surface while hearing this, if you kind of sat down and thought about what are some adjectives I want. I love how you said, how do I want people to describe me when I'm not in the room, right? That's how you said it. So what are some adjectives that I want to come across as, or I want people to think, she is this, this, and this. And then I think we could all kind of start thinking, well, is that how I'm presenting myself? Is that if I looked at someone wearing this or looking like this, is that what I would see? And I also like it because it doesn't make anything wrong or right, because we all might pick different adjectives, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I do think that if you want to continue down the path, you can then think about, does what I post on social media represent that? Is that what I'm saying to people? Am I showing up, across the table from people and using language that is consistent with that? So when you really build out a personal brand beyond the visual, it's taking that core and it's then being intentional about everything you do and making sure that it's back and consistent with what you're trying to achieve, and being clear with yourself on that.
Excellent point. Because again, if we act a certain way in person, but act a totally different way on social media, that's going to create confusion as well, as we were talking about at the beginning. Yeah, very good point. Well, I think listeners, you can tell that Cyndy and I could probably sit and chat about this for a while longer, but I'm not going to let us do that. But let me ask you this. How can they potentially connect with you, learn more, find out more?
So I have a website. If you know how to, I was going to say, if you know how to spell my name correctly, you'll find it, which you would, CyndyPorter.com, but it also routes to success. My company name is Success Thru Style, and Thru is spelled wrong, THRU. So,
And I will put that in the show notes.
so successthrustyle.com. And I just finished writing a book that I'm hoping will come out in the first quarter of the new year. And that would be a very accessible way for people to delve into this a little bit more. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm not super active on social media, to tell you the truth, but I'm there.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure to put that information in the show notes too, so that it'll be easy for people to find the website. They can just click.
Thank you.
Well, let me make sure, as we're wrapping up, to ask you the question that I ask everyone. And that is, we're always wanting to add a song to the Nostalgia OMG Teach Me playlist, which is on Spotify and Amazon Music.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun. And I've learned some cool songs and remembered some cool songs too. So I enjoy this just as much as anybody else. So what is a song that has good memories or a feeling of nostalgia attached to it for you?
So I would say maybe my favorite all-time song is Imagine from John Lennon. I don't know if that's already on your list, but every time I hear that song, it brings tears to my eyes. It's kind of my world vision. And it has, it came out when I was a teenager, and it to this day is still my absolute favorite. So I think I would have to offer up that one.
I love it. We will definitely add that. And I'm just thinking the words in my head now. And yes, it's great. It's a great message.
Great.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Cyndy, I think people really are going to get a lot out of this. And I love the idea of us being able to feel more confident going out into the world. And whether that's mindset that I work with people about, or whether it's how we present ourselves, it's all interconnected.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
What a great conversation that was with Cyndy. I really took away from this that when we put ourselves together in the morning, we really are putting ourselves together in a way that communicates something to the world. And the cool part of that is we get to decide exactly what it is. That's kind of amazing. I love that she said professional isn't an adjective, right? Because sometimes we want to look professional and sometimes we don't. We want to think about other things instead of using that word or that term. And I also love how she said the world is our mirror. Sometimes we think that maybe we shouldn't need so much external recognition, but we're human and some external recognition is really cool. And I think as long as that's not our only method of determining whether we're worthy, because of course that comes from inside, then great. So Cyndy is offering something really cool. If you are listening to this in October, then you can go down to the show notes, grab the link. You'll see a link with Success Through Style. It will give you access to a free handbook that you will love. And you'll be hearing more from me if you are on my email list about what she's got coming up. So make sure that you go to omgteachme.com. And when you get that pop-up, sign up, join the email list, and you will make sure to get all the information. And thanks for listening. Have a great one. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. OMG, did you know that we have mini episodes every Friday as well? Make sure to follow OMG Teach Me in your favorite podcast app so you get all the goodies. And if you're just finding this podcast and you're kind of wondering where to start, I have a curated mini series for you to help you stop self-sabotaging, because we all do it. So head over to www.omgteachme.com and sign up when you get the pop-up box. We may not have learned all these things in school, but they sure are powerful now.